as all of our videos build on top of each other, I am now here to talk about features 6 through 10 that I mentioned in my post on the Infinity Owners Group. Those features are support for 32 gigabyte cards, a full-size SD card, internal microphone, increased Bluetooth range, and power from the USB port. Again, most of the routes require some mechanical or a mechanical change in addition to an electronic change. USB or support for 32 gigabyte cards. I had mentioned a minute ago that we had taxed out this little guy's processor. He's basically at full potential. We can do no more with him. This is generation 1. So we are constrained by that. But 8 gigabyte cards are pretty awesome. 16 gigabyte cards work fairly well, but 32 gigabyte cards just have too large a file system for us to deal with. However, generation 2 comes along, and voila, we add this guy here, which gives us the ability to expand to 32 gigabyte cards. Now, the next thing is kind of a conjunction to that. On the old Riders, you had SD2 right there, SD3 right there on the machine, micro SD cards. The ability for this was to keep our Riders small and to be able to make it available, and we kind of ran out of real estate on the board to be able to do large cards. But based on so much feedback that we've gotten from you guys and requests, and the fact that apparently my hands are big and fumbly, as some other men in our industry, no offense, to be able to get those micro SD cards has been a pain. So as you can see right here, we have a full-size SD card slot. This required not so much an electronic change, but as it did a full mechanical change. However, since the other board can support that size, it's both a mechanic and electronic change. To generation 2, you have the ability for a full-size SD card in your machine. Then you have the next piece, internal microphone, which I don't think I mentioned in the original video. Internal microphone, I am thrilled by what we are doing with that. There's been some concerns about clarity and how good is it and how well will it work. Let me tell you what we've done and what makes this different. So there's always a question on how well anything will work, right? There's no guarantees. Sorry, I'm looking for my microphones. There's no guarantees that everything will be ideal. But what we have done is we've sought out a couple of really nice high signal to noise ratio microphones, super itty bitty, little tiny guys that we then can implement in our Rider. Now, for you people, for you that have machines without screens, what are we doing? Well, we are embedding a microphone directly into the top base of the machine that will be hidden and point away from you. That is a noise canceling microphone to cancel out the internal noise of the machine. And then for you people that have a screen that wants a microphone installed, what we will do is we will have a microphone that sits on the back side of your screen, so it'd be back in this corner. Again, super tiny, non-noticeable, screen sits up above the desk, you pick up sound. But that doesn't end it for us in our microphone. Nope, that isn't good enough. By picking up a new, more modern TI part, it gives us the ability to do something that couldn't be done before. The ability to have multiple microphone inputs into a single board, whether that's an external microphone that you plug into one of those jacks, or whether that's an internal microphone that's actually inside the machine or inside the screen. The ability for us to have those microphones available and allow you to then equalize or create a better sound quality from your microphones is available with this TI chip part. And going a step further, I am working with another vendor in the industry for us to be able to have a wireless microphone that you can then set away from your machine, use with the new Bluetooth that we have in our machine, and set it on a table. That feature isn't done, but it will become available to anybody on Generation 2 electronics when it does become available, because that is just awesome. A wireless mic that sits far away from you, that you can put right next to your witness, that you can stick on a bench next to your judge, and then listen to in your machine is cool. Not to mention, really good. Okay, increased Bluetooth range. Increased Bluetooth range. How did we get that? Well, on our old board, we had this particular chipset from a company called AmpedRF. We have now switched to a chipset from a company called Blue Giga. Blue Giga has a longer range, higher reliability Bluetooth module. They're a much bigger player than AmpedRF, but did not offer something that worked with us when we started our Bluetooth 5 or 6 years ago. However, they're now available. We have since replaced that thing with a much more powerful, much better antenna Bluetooth module. Taking that a step further, this is something I was going to cover later, but we are introducing a much simpler Bluetooth dongle. This guy's out of his little case right now. What that means is no more Blue Soleil. Aw, that'll be sad. Blue Soleil will be gone. Except for all the crappy things that Blue Soleil does. Now, Blue Soleil is the best thing that's on the market currently, meaning we use it, Stenograph uses it, because it does so many things for the user, because it's relatively easy to troubleshoot, because they do the design, and because they create various little dongles for us. And now the downside. They're very slow in updating from one version of Windows to another. They're very slow in responding to Windows security updates, which I'm sure most of you have experienced. It also deals with the fact that sometimes laptops do not and will not remember the pairing code for Bluetooth serial devices for whatever reason. Some do, some don't. That's all about Windows updates as well. In this case, you never have to remember a pairing code again. You're able to actually just pull that little device out of one USB port, plug it into USB port, and automatically your writer will always be COM port whatever. COM port 12, COM port 6, COM port whatever. There's little LED lights on here which tell you what it's doing. Is it connecting? Is it connected? It's pretty great that way. And this will become available with Generation 2, and it will become available for Generation 1 writers moving forward. Power from the USB port. That is a big deal. Generation 1, here's our little USB port. It simply goes over to that little chip right there, or that little chip right there, one of the two. Which one is it? It's that one right there. That power from the USB port on Generation 1, you can't take power. There's nowhere for those leads to go. They basically dead end, and we can't power from the writer. Generation 2, we added a whole bunch of new little diodes and electronics to be able to take that power coming in from the USB port, monitor it, manage it, and filter it back to the rest of the machine, which will allow us to run the whole machine minus the TFT screen, which means with power from the USB port, this no work, but everything else works. So we have a ton of advantage in that aspect. And again, that was a huge request. 12% of people request power from the USB port, 5% request increased Bluetooth range, 5%, 12% internal microphone, 7% from full-size SD cards, and 3% from the 32 gigabyte support. I honestly think those numbers would be higher as soon as you have them. Internal microphones for you that do use microphones, you'll be quite excited by that. And then for those of you that think microphones are for people who don't write, well then we'll just turn them off for you. Anyway, that concludes the second portion of the electronics outlay. In the third portion, I will go for TFT and daylight. I don't have to touch on simplified Bluetooth very much. I will talk about flatter keys. I will talk about snap on and off wide keys. I will talk about moving the function keys down so that they can be in a different position. I will talk about a quieter machine, and I will talk about user changeable vowel height. Be back in a few minutes.